Hello, my friends, and welcome to a space where pleasure is treasured, relaxation is not what you think it is, and life firing on all cylinders is what we're about. If you are somebody who wakes up every day asking for way more, consider this your happy place. Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creation of Living podcast.
Hi.
I am so excited to be here with Dr. Dain Heer this week. A dear friend, mentor, possibility explorer, just like magician of magnitude. There are no words to introduce you properly. Dragon Lord, all the things.
And if you're watching on video, you know it's true.
It's true.
I have proof behind me.
Exactly. The proof is in the background. Yeah. And co-creator of Access Consciousness, which is my favorite way to live, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're gonna play. We're gonna explore. We're gonna see what we can get into today. And I wanted to specifically also talk to Dain about the book and the class that he has coming up called Body Whispering, which to me is one of my absolute favorite classes in Access. I will never miss that class. It is just a true adventure into possibilities completely beyond anything we've ever considered every single time, and so different every single time. And
surprisingly so, I would say.
Yeah.
Because, I love that your podcast is called The Creation of Living, because that's what actually opens up. And there.
Yeah.
I say that to people because it's like, it's so funny. We live in a world in which when if you say to somebody who's like, oh my God, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. And you're like, okay, well, if you do this and this and this, you will. They're like, oh no, I want something else. You're like, oh, okay, but this, okay, all right, cool. But this, it's so tough to explain how this interweaves into somebody's life and they're living. But this is where you go from life, which is a concluded structure of all kinds of structure and judgment, to the exuberance of actually living, meaning it's got movement, it's got thriving, it's like you wake up like an excited little kid, even though you're an adult.
Yes. And what's really popping for me is because the class that we did in Puerto Vallarta, the Body Whispering class, and it was this amazing thing that happened where like a truck turned over in the road and all these things. And basically we couldn't come back for the afternoon of the class. And I had been, hosting for you, online hosting for a long time, and, like always there with you, like, okay, whatever we're doing, like, let's do this, and there was such a, like, cause you're just always willing to go. You are an intense mofo in the best of ways, and, and one of the things that we talk about with Creation of Living is like, how do you have relaxation and intensity in the same breath? Both of those things together. And it was this amazing moment that changed the future of Access Consciousness, where we stopped coming back for the afternoon of class.
Yeah.
And that
was huge.
There was such a depth of relaxation that showed up from that, of like, it's not about the time. It's not about how long we're here. It's like, what can we create in this, boomy, 3 or so hours that doesn't require us to be here all day, slogging.
Well, and also and because this also, when you talk to people about this, it's almost unfathomable, because we live in a world in which we're entirely constrained and constructed by time.
Yeah.
And yet what we found, so I was the proponent of, like, I would go till 7 p.m., like we would do a morning, we'd go for lunch, we'd come back, and people after lunch for years were just looking at me like dogs watching television. And here I'm facilitating. I'm talking about some really big stuff, as far as like blow your brain apart, possibilities and how do we get there, and walking along the energetic path. And people are like, can you I just want to go to sleep, And so when this truck crashes right over the venue, it was so weird because there was a road going over, and we couldn't come back, but it wasn't my fault. That made it okay. And I was even like, I'm going to do the afternoon on Zoom. And then, given that it's a body whispering class, I sort of tapped into everybody's body, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I asked the question, what will it be like if I do? And what will it be like if I don't? And don't had this exuberance. And so I was like, okay, fine. Even though, because I had all these points of view in my head about being a good facilitator, a huge part of that is you give people more than what they paid for, and you give people more time than what they think they're going to get. And that's how they know that you value them and value their contribution and value the fact that they paid to be there and have taken the time to be there. That's not actually how you do it. I was wrong. And, and it's just totally wrong. And I want to say because after that class, I'm like, I'm not doing afternoons again, because it created so much more change. Because it's also the difference in life and living, or the idea of the creation of living, once again, is we think it's about the time and the linearity, but it's not. If you could do 10 times as much in a tenth the time, how much more rich would each moment be?
Yeah.
Because you're not stretching it out to make it fit the time it's supposed to. There's a totally different way of being. And this actually, our body showed us, or whatever, we got this awareness from this body whispering class. And every one of these explorations of body whispering is very seldom are we directly talking about bodies. We do, but even the things we talk about with bodies, it's like, oh, you have this thing with your body you want to change? Well, let's look at this area of your life, because that's what our bodies are really showing us. They're showing us the result of our choices in our lives. And they're, because they function primarily from a subtlety of energy, like they're energetic, like when you wake up and you feel like you're on top of the world, that's one energy. When you wake up and you want to hit the snooze alarm 27 times, that's a different energy. A lot of that is let's say physical, psycho-energetic, and that is what creates the biochemicals, because certain people say it's biochemistry. But if you're willing to look at all of it, you realize there's actually a totally different conversation to be had. And to have that conversation, because it works so dynamically to create change and to open you up to an awareness of possibilities.
Boom. Yeah. And bodies are so brilliant in what they can show us and what they facilitate. I mean, it's kind of like the bodies facilitated that, so that we could have an awareness of greater, more elegance, more ease, more relaxation, and
more enjoying being alive.
Yeah.
Why are we on this journey if we're not enjoying the journey? What the fuck are we here if we're not living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. And I'm so grateful for my body, like being so demanding in a way over the years. And we just had this whole amazing conversation in the Home of Infinite Possibilities class about sensitivity, right? And I would have called my body sensitive before, but my body is just like she's a hedonist, like I'm a hedonist, and you and Gary and Access have really shown me, so much of that's such a superpower, really, and like a very different way of being in the world. And I didn't even realize that people don't value that, they don't value pleasure, I mean, I do now, but for the longest time I was like, wait, why? Like, but why are you here? You know?
Right? Well, it's interesting because even when you say I'm a hedonist, like that has so many negative connotations.
I know.
And here's the weird part is all the things that we're doing from a place of judgment, which is usually limiting our happiness, limiting our joy, limiting, all those things. They, I was talking to a friend who read this article, this study by this guy who was talking about people. What is it? They want it's not consistency, it's confinement. They want to know that what they have is constrained, confined, controlled. And so creating problems is the best way to do that because you can totally define the situation according to that and then everything that comes from it and what to do about it and progress it into the future and all of these things. And the interesting part is the hedonistic approach to life. And hedonistic is where you're a pleasure seeker.
Yeah.
We have the idea that if we're pleasure seekers, we're never going to get anything done. We're going to drain our bank account and just travel around the world. But that's not pleasure for pleasure's sake. And the interesting part is, as you start to seek more pleasure in life and you start to choose, and this is crucial, choose more things that bring pleasure, your life works better. Here's the weird part. If you want to get over your money problem, start choosing more of what brings you pleasure.
Totally.
You want to get over your relationship problem, start choosing more of what brings you pleasure. So the weird part is, like, one of the, I was talking to somebody the other day and she's like, oh my God. And I was getting her to acknowledge something that's true for her, which was a level of kindness and a level of contribution to people. She's like, oh my God, I always wanted to be that. I'm like, well, here's what I found. What if you could look from this place? What if what it is that you've always wanted to be, what if that's because that's what you are and you haven't been allowing yourself to choose it? And from this place of creating our living, it's like seeking pleasure and you having more pleasure creates everything working easier and you looking for possibilities instead of problems as a way of handling or solving your life. And it creates, it's so weird. It's like, what if we already are that, but we've been trying to do everything against it? And a lot of people out there listening are probably like, what? I don't even understand what you weirdos are talking about. Plus, you're too fucking happy. Stop being so happy. I know. Well, we generally are happy. This is not our podcast face, you know?
Totally.
And people can't fathom that.
Yeah.
If you just be happy, people's minds are blown. And it's
so
like,
true.
well, why am I happy? Well, because it makes me happier to be happy than not happy. What part of that don't you get? Like, and what if you could have it too?
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah. Oh man, I know. And yeah, I mean, when you're happy in this world, like, you know, for most people that function more from judgment or like the impossibility of that, you know, it's like you're crazy, you're on drugs, you're in denial, you're spiritually bypassing, you know, all those
Yes, I am, and I'm happy. Who cares if I'm crazy, in denial, on drugs? The only one that I wouldn't go for, because that, when you come down off of that, you're far less happy. I've tried that before. Okay. And who cares if I'm spiritually bypassing? If I'm genuinely happy, who cares?
Yeah. And what is spiritually bypassing anyway? You
Totally.
know, it's like maybe you're bypassing a lot of judgments and points of view that aren't relevant to you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And here's the thing, somebody who's truly, and I want to address this because I am making light of it, but I'm not dismissing it. I don't dismiss anything.
Yeah.
I just have lightness about most things. And so somebody who's truly spiritually bypassing isn't truly happy.
Yeah.
If you're truly happy, you're not bypassing anything. The only sustainable space of happiness is when you're willing to be present with everything. But everything as it actually is, not everything is all the lies that you bought. And the interesting part is our bodies, if we will learn to listen to them, are a litmus test for, is this actually true for you? Or are you buying a bag of lies that's not what you've been sold?
That when I was starting to say the thing about how, think like this, like sensitivity, I recently have this kind of story has come up again of the very beginning for me of when I started doing Access Consciousness. And I didn't think I was capable of creating a lot of money. Like I actually didn't even know when I would be able to afford to take the foundation class, which is like one of the first classes that you would take. And I just kind of was like, all right, I worked out a payment plan with the facilitators and da da da. And 3 weeks after the class, I was like, hey, I called her up and I was like, this was when we had checks, it was a long time ago. I was like, you can cash all the checks. So it was like, it changed everything. But my body I had extreme chronic low back pain. And I was a yoga teacher. I was like a healthy, bolder person, living in a lot of judgment that I didn't know at the time,
Totally.
and I couldn't even tie my shoes some days. Like it was really intense. And Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, was coming to Colorado to do an advanced body class. And my body was like, we are going to that thing. Like you get your ass there, And I was like, okay, I have some tools. Let's see what I can do, because I had to take 3 other classes in I don't know, probably like a 5-month period in order to get to that class. So I had to pay for 4 classes. I went to your level 2 and 3 in Chicago. That was so long ago. But I did it. I created it, like, because my body was like, we're going. And I'm like, okay, you help me create this. I have so many stories like this where I'm like, body, you want something. I don't think I'm capable of it, but if you want to show me how, let's do it, And
do you realize how crazy we sound?
I know.
But we're happy and shit works for us.
But the amazing thing is, I got my ass to those classes.
Girl.
I got to the advanced body class, and Gary asked me one question, and I ran one body process, and that chronic pain was gone forever. And the pain had to do with my kids and me as a parent, which you've seen me through so many things over the years with that. I had to change how I was showing up. I had to admit that I hated being a mom. And that's what Gary asked me, do you hate being a mom? And I'm like, oh my God, my kids are in the room and I have to say yes to this. Like,
Well, I want to put an additional caveat there. You can't truly love being a mom until you acknowledge how much you hate being a mom.
It's so true.
Because people could be left with, oh, she hates being a mom. No, you fucking don't. You just can't. You can't see what's true until you pull apart the lies and stop living and stop making those your only source. And your body is like, lie, 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 lie. Stop pretending you are stupid. I'm going to make you hurt until you do something different. You stupid bitch. Get with the fucking program.
Totally.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Basically, I was like, you want to get out of bed? Nope. You want to tie your shoes? Nope. You want to walk down the stairs? Nope. You
want to walk through Boulder proving you have it all together, Miss Yoga Pants? Nope.
Exactly.
You ain't walking anywhere without pain and everybody's going to know.
Exactly.
Like,
oh. And the amazing thing too is that my business changed after that. Like it was because Gary was like, hire it out. Everything you don't want to do as a mom, hire it out. And so right after that, like literally the next morning, my body woke me up and was like, take me for a run, and I was like, all right, this is great, so I got up and I ran. I felt fantastic. The pain literally never came back. And I hired a Manny to be my wife, basically, to do all the things I didn't want to do. And it was a guy. Awesome. And he took care of my kids and he did the cooking, the cleaning, all the things that I didn't want to do that I thought made me a good mom. He helped me with my business. My business started to grow. My body was no longer in pain. I started enjoying being a mom. All of it was because my body was like, listen, bitch, like you are not this is not gonna be your life. And if you insist on this, you're gonna hurt every day.
That Can I break apart a couple of things?
Yes.
There's a few things. So one is our bodies function energetically. We're putting words to these things after the fact.
Yeah.
We're saying my body said this and did this and whatever. It wasn't saying any of that. It was showing you with the tools it has available. And the primary tool, when you're not willing to listen to the whisper of your body, is pain, because that's your body shouting at you because you've shown it you won't listen to the whispers, right? So, but energetically, it was like, if you'll just ask a simple question, any of you have anything going on with your body right now? And don't people have things going on with their bodies a lot, right? Ask this simple question: what's going to take to change this? Embody everything that doesn't allow me to hear you. I will now let it go. And you can use the access consciousness clearing statement if you really want to let it go, really easily. You can go to theclearingstatement.com and check that out. But the concept, whether you use that clearing statement or not, clearing statement just makes it more effective. But the concept is asking a question: body, what's going to take to change this?
Yeah.
And your body, and you asked, with probably not even cognitively realizing it, and everybody's like, this class. So from there, the other thing that you did was you didn't go into conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go into, I can't do this. Because if you had gone, I can't do this, guess what? You wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You would still be in pain today, hating being a mom and not acknowledging it.
I'd probably be dead.
That's probably, and you can see the future that would have been had you closed that door of possibilities. But what you're talking about, what you're giving such a beautiful example of, is consciousness in motion. Yeah. People are like, why consciousness? Access consciousness. Why do you access consciousness? I just want to be rich and happy and pretty and have likes. Except even if I get likes, I don't like the fact that I get likes. Then I have another issue. Oh my God, I got too many likes. Now I got to do it all for them. Like, dear fucking God, people, why are you alive again? But the idea of conscious, for the likes, it's so working. And the thing is, consciousness is total awareness without judgment. Yeah. So if you can have that awareness, and it's so beautiful that your kids are in the room, because that would have been the major triggering factor in you holding back, but you chose not to. Yeah. See, you would have had the choice to go, oh no, I love it. My little angels, die angel, fucking devil, fucking angel fuckers, like that would have been a choice. Yeah. But what you did was you were like, okay, I gotta say this because of the demand in your world to change it. Number one, getting out of pain is a strong motivator for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Change that, but also the demand in your world to have more of you, which is you being you, is you being aware of everything, conscious, able to have choice, but from no judgment. So in that going to the class where your body obviously had a sense of what was going to happen, so it gets you there. But in that is this beautiful example of getting to the awareness that you weren't willing to have before. Yeah. That's what changes everything. Yeah. And that's what we do with access consciousness classes. Like body whispering is about getting to the awareness of not just mental, though. It's being immersed in the awareness of your body's unique form of communicating, so that you can actually, like the skin you're in, so that you can actually start to perceive what it's communicating, so it doesn't have to shout to you in the form of debilitating pain or disease. Yeah. So that you can use it also, though, as a friend to navigate your life. Yeah. And this is really what the journey is about. It seems to get disconnected in a lot of people's worlds because they have no reference point for what consciousness could actually be or why. And I totally understand that. I didn't have one until being on the journey for so long. Yeah.
And it's so not something that is like understandable or cognitizable. Like it's just, it's like, I have so many stories like that of like how I bought my house and how, like, every time my body's like, I'd like a new car, it just creates it. Like, I'm always like, well, maybe not right now, and then all of a sudden I have a new car because like recently my son totaled my car my body was asking for another car. And I was like, not right now, but I always go, hey, body, if you want to create it, go for it. I know that,
Right.
and then it just does, and I'm like, oh, well, I have a new car. Okay, great. But
Okay,
it's
that's
like,
brilliant.
but how do we even, it's not something that you can even like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
It's being immersed in these energies, these conversations, the exploration, asking the questions, getting out of judgment, like so many things that
Well,
creates this as this, and like makes it more substantial over time as we play with it.
well, it's interesting because on the one hand, it's so many things, but you don't think about any of those things while you're doing them. You just do it. Like something will show up and you're like, oh, I'd like more awareness about this. Or something will show up. You're like, I know there should be something else possible. How do I get there? And that could be in any area of our lives.
Yeah.
And the thing that you said that I don't know if you acknowledge or if anybody else can even fathom, but when you said body, make it happen, that's such an undefined acknowledgement of your body's ability that most of us can't even believe our bodies have, but also a willingness to let the universe take charge and let consciousness lead. It's like, and when you can acknowledge, I have no idea how to make this happen, but I'm asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can ask your body in the way that you do, it's like your body is like, I will create miracles. But it's also tapping into what you have available that is hidden from your awareness, hidden from your ability to understand or compute. And that's all of this, all of the magic. Let's look at this for a moment. Magic or miracles are by definition something that is not able to be computed.
Yeah.
It's just not. We can't compute it. And so here's the other weird part. You know how I said, wow, like, what if you already are everything you wanted to be? You're like, wait, I always wanted to be able to be that. Well, it's maybe because you are that, but that also, so much of this is not logical, but so much of it speaks to something deep within or without, whatever, like deep within what's true for us. And we can't deny the truth indefinitely.
Mm.
And it takes, oh, hey, thumbs up to you. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And that
Yes.
one thing more than anything else is why there is so much suffering on this planet. Because it takes energy to twist what is already available to you and true for you into a lie that you can't have it, into the lie that if you just do the right structure of reality in the right way linearly, then you will have it, into the lie that there is a step-by-step path to get there. Tell me the step-by-step path that you took to go from no back pain to intense back pain to no back pain. You're like, I don't remember, because it was step by step. It was being open, like having, those little mice with the big old ears, and they look like they should be able to hear, satellites, that kind of mouse, but it's like that. It's like opening up those ears for the little feathered touches of awareness that match an energy that you've opened up to by going, hey, body, make this happen. And so now you're open up to the things, the whispers you would have missed before of what will make it happen. And when we have more of a sense of gratitude, even here's the other thing I want to say about all of this is I'm holding my head together. If you're out there listening, you might be like, oh my God, so much stuff. No, let's short circuit it. Just if all you did was acknowledge that there's something about your body that is brilliant and miraculous. It's doing what it's doing based on the points of view you are putting on it, not based on some limitation it has or some need to be limited that it has. It doesn't have one. And then if you just started asking questions to your body, and ask things like, hey, body, I really don't believe what Heather was saying the other day, but will you make this happen? And then live your life. But then allow your little mouse ears to get really big to perceive the whispers, because there's all these ways of making things happen that our mind rejects because it doesn't match how things should happen.
Yeah.
And we are creatures of possibility. We thrive. When we're truly living is when we're experiencing the sense of possibilities. And that's when we're truly living. And we thrive on that sense of possibilities. Mm-hmm. And another great question you can ask is, what can I be and what can I choose to weave the fabric of magic throughout my body and my life and living and my reality? Let's add that.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
And if we can just, for everybody, some of you may be newer to this exploration. I remember being newer to the exploration, and I was like, I don't get it. Well, all you got to notice, when I said that, did you notice something? That's all you got to do. All you got to do is go through the world noticing something. Because what'll happen is, if you've ever had a time where you're really happy, for example, and then one thing will occur that seems like it changes it, like maybe contracts a little or makes it slightly less available. That's a noticing of it. Most people don't notice that. So that happens, another thing, another thing, another thing. And now 3 days later, you're in a contracted pile of yuck. Whereas before you're like, I was so happy. Well, part of the reason that occurs, and part of what our body can show us as we are present with it more, is all you got to know is notice something. You don't have to know what you're noticing. You can't define it. Don't even bother trying. And most of us, that's where we limit ourselves. I noticed, but I don't know what it is. So therefore I must not have noticed it. No, right. You noticed it. You don't know what it is. Therefore it must be miraculous, or it must be energetic, or it must be actual awareness. When you don't know what it is, it's actual awareness. When you say, I know what it is, you're defining it according to something that makes sense from your past, which is keeping you in the box of only having the possibilities that have been, that you have decided can occur based on your past, not opening up to the undefined, because for something new to occur, for some possibility, for some miracle, that can't be from your previous definitions.
Yes.
It's got to be from something undefined, something ununderstandable according to your mind.
Yeah.
Something far more present with us and our being and our bodies. And far easier, by the way.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we talk about in Access that is so different is this acknowledgement that our bodies have a consciousness of their own. And so it's like our body has a consciousness, our being has a consciousness. They're not the same and they're not separate. And that has been such a gift over the years for me to really explore that. And again, in such a nonlinear, non-cognitive way, how you're describing a lot of this, like just being curious about it and seeing the magic and acknowledging the magic when it shows up. And one of the things that is so fun for me is like to just see, it's like, gosh, my body is like this incredible facilitator into more and greater and more ease. And, that's always here. It's always with me. I don't have to call you or Gary and sometimes calling you or Gary is really super helpful, but, or, anybody, or taking a class or whatever, but it's like, we have this incredible conscious organism that's like right here, and it's with us, and we are with it all the time if we choose that. And that is like, yeah.
Yeah. And that also is not it's too big to be put into a box, really, that awareness. And one of the things we'll do is we'll try to talk more when something is too big to be talked about.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I've done that my whole life, and and trying to put enough words to it to where I could make it definable enough and understandable enough that somebody let it into their world, so they could have the possibility. Yeah. Except what I found is, you'll say something like that, and if we can acknowledge, wow, it's actually too big to be put into words. It's too big to be put into a box.
Yeah.
And here's the other weird part and wonderful part and weird part is that so many of the most beautiful things people want to and feel duty bound and compelled to put them in a box so that they can define it and understand it and reproduce it. And if we would just give ourselves permission to not do that quite as much.
Yeah.
Just to be like, okay, something happened. I was aware of something. Like, all of you that are listening, are you different somehow after listening to this podcast? And you may have had a couple of awarenesses that were cognitive, where there were ahas, but what it really is this meandering path of consciousness that contributes different things than we can even fathom. And after a bit, you're just like, wow, I'm so different somehow. And the beauty of the classes is because we've all constructed our lives in the way that we have. We have structures, we have things, we have people, we have stuff, we have what we think life is, all that. And the beauty of the class is you're present enough, and we have enough sort of explorations to kind of like poke holes in it. So it's more like Swiss cheese rather than a solid lump of concrete. And it allows you the space to go into your life with this, rather than having your life come and cave back in on you, because it has more sway and more persistence than the energies of possibility and the sense of possibility and the undefined beauty that we actually are when we're being us. And so the classes create the place where it's like, you get bigger, this reality and the reality of limitation gets smaller.
Yeah.
And your point of view, here's an interesting thing. Somebody said this years ago about one of the access classes. She said, my point of view used to be, how am I going to deal with the world? My point of view is now, how is the world going to deal with me? And that's what I would like for all of us.
Hell yes.
Hells yeah.
Hells yeah.
Hells yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a fun conversation.
I know.
I hope people got something out of it.
I suspect.
And if you didn't, it's Heather's fault.
Yes. Everything's my fault. I've recently realized that I'm very responsible for everybody, and so I'm happy to take that on.
So good. That's such a great recognition to have, because it's like, and a lot of us growing up, here's the weird part. A lot of us growing up, it was like we were somehow made responsible or the source for every problem that occurred in our family and anybody else's lives. But they would never let us be the solution.
It's so true.
Like, wait a minute, I'm the source of the problem, but I know we can change this. I know I can help you change this. I know this is changeable, but you won't let me do that. What? Talk about cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
That's what the clearing statement exists for. Shit like that. So you can bring it up and go, Poc and pod, bye-bye, mamacita. Don't need to live with that anymore.
Totally. That's created so much freedom for me. And it's amazing. You just have an awareness of something, and then it's like, well, I'm going to destroy and uncreate that, say the clearing statement.
Bye-bye.
It's like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Too
so
easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If this conversation was inspiring to you, share the love. To work privately with me or for info on my upcoming classes and retreats, go to heathernichols.com. Have a beautiful day, and remember that the world thrives when you do.